Dr. Clendenning, good morning. How are you?
I am well, the great and fabulous Michael Laversi. How are you today, man?
I'm good. I'm good. That's my new title, by the way. It's the Michael Laversi, right? Since I'm
The
not a doctor,
official.
I
That's
gotta
right.
I gotta step up my game. You know how it goes, right? So we're jumping in today. I've got a hot topic that I think and know and trust. I know and like and trust the fact that the audience will dive into this, no problem. It touches on influence. It touches on relatability. It
Hmm.
touches on sort of leading people to think, right? It touches to relevance, and it touches to doing business with somebody, and how you show up is how you show up. And I'm gonna break it down. Okay, the two of us were in a conversation earlier today with one of our boardroom battleground coaches, Anthony Perez, the great
Hmm.
Anthony Perez. This dude has so many nuggets. You're on with this guy for like 15 minutes. All you have to do is start asking him questions. You're getting anecdotes. You're getting all kinds of things. It is really incredible that Anthony has all that knowledge and all that power, and I'm impressed with it. And when when you look at it, right, you ask the guy a question, he's got 15 minutes of nuggets going on. So without further ado, when we all came together, me, you, and Anthony, and we were at an event, a business event, and we, the three of us, not in order and not together, knew that we wanted to extend past the first meeting and we wanted to do business together. And you showed up in a way that was really huge. You were introduced to me with a lot of credibility, and then you backed it up through character, and you backed it up through the body of work that you displayed. And when I say displayed, it wasn't like you're running around going, "Hey, I've done all this stuff." Through conversation, you had tangible goods like a book. You had a whole display at your booth. You had some substance to what you were saying. Through deeper conversation, I found your level of education, your level of involvement, experience. Anthony, exactly the same way. The guy was really polished, done up. He wrote a book, a servant leadership, and he's a coach, a speaker, a business owner, an entrepreneur, kind of a triple threat, like all of us are, right? The triple threat. And when I met you and I met Anthony, Anthony met me, Anthony met you, we all are still doing business. None of us obviously are involved with that organization anymore, which is ironic, but we're all doing business. On our call, we were talking about our contestants, and you brought up the point of how they went from a transformation early on in the process to their KLT factor going way up, and you insightfully put Anthony on the spot in a good way and said, "Hey, contestants day one," and we went down one by one. Contestants day two, we went, day 22 or 32, whatever we're in, 52. And how are they showing up? Well, they all went. One of them maybe went from a two to a five. The other ones went from a zero to a four. It's
Hmm.
an amazing transformation. And I'd like to expand on the psychology of that. I'd like to give people some tactical advice and go deeper into how you show up. And it's not about wearing the big watch. It's not about the gold chain. It's not about the drip necessarily. All that stuff helps, but it speaks to how you show up. So let's go down that road. When you hear me say how you show up is how you show up, what comes to your mind based on that conversation? Anything you got floating around in there?
I think it's two-sided, Mike, and it's one how we show up to attract other people around us, and the second part of that would be how we show up in who we are looking for. Like I would say, it's two different people. So let's use you and I as the example. At that particular, well, I'll use Anthony because I know kind of how where this one goes. Is Anthony and I met briefly at the same event that you and I are talking about. We met briefly. We happened to be going to another event we were both speaking at in Las Vegas, like 2 weeks later,
I
and it was
forgot
just
about
like,
that.
yeah, it was fortuitous, if you will. It was just one of those, like, it was kind of, that's the direction we were headed, and we're like, hey, we're both going to be there. cool. Let's see if we can grab a cup of coffee. And that's the extent of where we left it from the first event. And then we got to the second event. We got to be in a room with a bunch of cool people. We got to be in the foundation room at the Mandalay Bay, which is super cool bar. Top floor of the Mandalay, overlooking the Strip. It's super swanky. And Anthony and I just really connected, and we connected over people, not, hey, look at me, look how I show up. It was both of us showed up. In truth, we both showed up as coaches in that space. We were both looking to connect with more people to increase the sphere of influence that we had. We wanted to make good connections there. So we both intended to show up in that way. And so we immediately went into that, just asking questions to the other people. Not an interview process per se. Second time I've used that word today. Not necessarily an interview process, and yet it was. It was I want to know, you're a cool dude. I want to know if you're a really cool dude. Like, I'm in like with you, but am I really like, do I like you? I mean, if we want to go back to that. And we had a great conversation, and we ended up doing lunch the next day, and we did several things, and we both said at the end of that, we're like, yeah, you and I have got a lot of things in common, business related, where we want to go. We come from the same place, that servant's heart perspective. We want to make change. We want to create impact. And we march down that road. Now, I say that to say this, and and that happened very similarly for Mike and I. And Mike and I got an additional push to where Mike and I were having some conversations, and then we had a third party come in and say, you know what? I know you both. You need to both have a deeper conversation here. We had a third party person. We talk about Julianne all the time too. She literally said, the two of you need to get together and the two of you need to be doing something. You're circling each other, but you have not stopped and had the conversation yet. And so sometimes it does take that third party representation to come in and tell you this. Now, here's the tip, here's the tactic, whatever you want to call it. We've talked about way back. I don't even know what episode it was, probably two. It was way back in the beginning. We talked about your core values. We talked about a core values elicitation. There's a specific way to do it. And you have to get to what are the three primary core values that I hold dear and necessary in my universe. And you use those in this space. When we're having that conversation, one of my big core values, impact. Guess what one of Mike's is? Like, this is one of those big, yeah, this is, you align with people with similar core values, and that's why it's so important, integral, non-negotiable that you know yours. Because if you don't know yours, you're just going to be in business with every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there, and some of those are not going to be worth being in business with. But when you align yourself with people with the same core values as you do, man, there sky's the limit. There's nothing you can't do together to march down that road. Like, at no point, I mean, constantly, Anthony's like, I met this guy. You need to meet him because he likes you. And does the same for Mike. And we have those conversations. Mike and I do the same thing. And we introduce other people that we'll meet, and we're like, yeah, I know somebody that, would be amazing for you. And we have gotten even better at this because we've met our amazing friend Steve Ramona, that the master connector that we talk about all the time. Steve's the man. And he is all about, before ever asking for anything. This is the cool part about Steve. Like, I haven't actually heard him ask for anything at any given particular time. He will always be rolling through his mental Rolodex. Who can I introduce you to when you're having the conversation with? And he makes a point of connecting you with at least three people. That is a wildly beautiful business plan, and we have sought to be more in that space as well. So that's what it means. That's what it says to me when we're talking about that, is how we get that alignment, how we show up. Is, if I show up with the intention of, I'm looking for somebody, I am looking for this person, I have their avatar squared away, I'm likely to find them. If I show up to an event and I'm just going to wallflower in the back, and I'm going to, well, maybe if I learn something, from this event, it'll be cool. I am not putting out that attraction vibe. I am not going to show up in that way that I'm going to network with people that are, I don't want to say above the tier that we are at, but are doing things that are in a space that we can leverage each other to create greater impact together.
Well, speaking of people that are in a space and doing things, that's the other piece, right? You can have a body of work, and if you're in the right room, people already know who you are and know what you've done because other people have already told them.
Hmm.
And same works on the contrary, right? And you may have to prove yourself back, from a bad reputation, or a winning reputation might make it easy to make the sale. Like I'll give you a real world example. My other business that I run, a new client had called, a referral had called in, and I wanted to match this person up with the correct contractor that works within the business. But the person, it was a referral from two separate sources. So I was able to communicate with this person who's buying this as a gift. I was able to communicate with this person on a friendlier level and not on a transactional level. We got through the muck because of the deep referral. I want to call it deep referral, multiple year client of the business, right? That's a deep referral. But when it comes to meeting people in a social setting and immediately clicking to get the second or third or fourth conversation, like you, me, and you and Anthony, you know, there's several things that people can do. And in my opinion, if you haven't written your words down in a book, you should. If you haven't put a body of work somewhere on a website or a video explaining what it is you do on YouTube or somewhere, or done a TV show or done a podcast, sometimes it's not just a monetization tool. Sometimes it's a conversation tool. Sometimes you need people to be in a conversation with you before they even meet you. And that's what I never realized about social media. I was always not seeing the point of social media, but it is to become, if you're a person that wants to be known and you want whatever version of yourself to be shown to the world for whatever purpose, that becomes a place where people start getting in the conversation with you before they even meet you. It's almost a monologue, right?
Hmm.
And so before we get tactical, let's talk about practical. And I'm going to start talking about boardroom battleground. That's what I want to
Hmm.
talk about. I want to talk about showing up, people to get into the conversation with you, being a contestant, being involved, following along with our TV show, Boardroom Battleground, is it's a groundbreaking show that shows people the entrepreneur's journey before they even get anywhere. It shows the coaching journey that no one has ever seen. It is a PR infusion like no one's business for people to know, like, and trust a business. Because not only have they seen the process, they get a chance to witness it. Now, there's a QR code underneath Jake, and scan that if you're on visual. If you're on audio, go to our website, www.total-disruption.com, www.total-disruption.com. Click on the boardroom battleground, click to apply. If that's not for you, great. There's other stuff on our website. There's the guild, there's join our mailing list. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, all the socials, message us. Let's help coach you and get you where you have to go and get you accelerated. What's the biggest thing you've seen? We covered it today, Jake. Our contestants on Boardroom Battleground, in the short amount of time they've been with our group, what is the biggest thing you've seen?
I would say the biggest thing that we're seeing that makes me the happiest is the fact that they're evolving away from being transactional and product driven and
Okay.
following that why they do the thing. Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Why do you punish yourself as an entrepreneur? Everybody thinks like entrepreneurship is just hitting the golf course and doing lunches and some
Uh-huh.
fancy dinners and all the sexy stuff that's out there. Um, that ain't, it's not what it is. And like, you've got to have a purpose. You've got to have that why. And we're really seeing the contestants opening up in that space, and they're, this is allowing them to connect with their customer base. You who's listening to this and watch on the show, in a way that they were not previously able to do it. We're watching their businesses grow, we're watching their revenue increase, we're watching their profit increase. That's what excites me the most about this, is the fact that they're getting their why. Now, is everybody getting it? No, there's a couple that are fighting it. They're going to get there. They're going to get there. That's my biggest thing that I'm watching that's happening for that. As far as the coaches are concerned, the biggest thing I'm watching is a hugely collaborative space with some amazingly talented individual coaches that have really gathered as a team in order to, the fractional board of directors, as we talked about it, that are, every one of them and as a team wants to see every contestant succeed in their business. Given there's only one winner for the show, and yet every single person that's on here, their revenue is going to go up, the profit's going up.
I would say the revenue is going up, I mean, by at least 35, 40% without even getting wet, without even getting started. I mean, that's my guesstimation. The accelerated fast track of the coaching, the cohesiveness, the accountability, the big picture thinking, the deployment. It's everything you've ever wanted in a program, and it's a PR infusion like you've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the fence, go over to our contestant, Mark Fitzwater, right? I-68 Consulting. Hit him up. Ask him about it. Go to his socials, right? Look him up, I-68 Consulting, right? Go for it. Hit up one of our coaches, Anthony Perez, Jen Loving. Go look them up on socials. Ask them about their experience. So how you show up is how you show up, right? And I can't stress this enough. You're not going to be able to please everybody just because you wrote a book, and just because you did this or just because you did that doesn't mean you're gonna be able to please everybody. I did a call with this dude who was so effing arrogant. I can't even stand it. This guy's like, I think this dude's name was Larry, and he runs like a financial education thing in Pennsylvania or something. I called him up and said, "Hey, Larry, I'm looking for some contestants for our show. I'm looking to expand my network. I want to talk to you. You referred to me by a good friend. Oh, what do you want? You ever look me up?" He's real short with me, trying to big time me. Normally, I charge $500 for 15 minutes. I said, "Well, I don't have $500 for you for 15 minutes. And that's all great and all, but do you have anybody you can refer to the show that wants a PR boost? Maybe I'll think about it." Really, really short. I was like, "Nice to see you and bye, my friend." I
Mm-hmm.
don't need that. I don't think he cared whether I wrote a book. I don't think he cared whether I've coached thousands of people. I don't think he cares what I am or who I. All he's about is himself. And he's elevating himself to such a porch. Maybe if I chased him, what do you think? Would you chase after a guy like that? Would you look at that as a fun, without ego? Would you look at a guy who's trying to big time you like that as a test? Or do you look at it as next? From a sales approach, I'm not trying to prove myself to this guy because he abused my ego because he tried to big time me. But it's like, fine, you want to set a barrier? I'm not going to spend too much of my time, but I am going to see if I can win you over. Where do you come out with that kind of situation, Jake?
Same. I'm right there with next. And it comes right down to it. Like, we are not going to be everybody's cup of tea all the time. That's just how it is. Is it possible Larry was having a bad day and he's having a bad gig? Am I going to give him a second opportunity? Probably, because that's part of follow up. Of, hey, it doesn't have anybody right now. Awesome. I'll follow up with you in a couple weeks, see how that goes. If Larry shows up and proves to me that's who Larry is, that's not who I need to be doing business with. That's not my thing. I'm not that. I'm more conversational. I'm more relationship driven. Generally, and I have been called super short sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I can get there when I get in my head and I'm doing the thing, and I'll own it.
Yes, you
So
have. Not by me.
yeah,
You.
yeah, and it happens. I've been called short. So I would ask for a little bit of grace, that maybe sometimes we're having a bad day and maybe we didn't come off the way that we should have. And if I'm having a bad day and I come off sideways to you, I should be calling you back. I should own the fact that I am being a jackass and that I should call you back and say, hey, Mike, I, I did not treat you well on that call, and I'm going to own that, and I'm going to be accountable for it. And Mike's
Oh
laughing
man.
because he's heard me do it. Even when
Well,
I wasn't actually that short, I have apologized for being short.
well, that happened to a friend of ours. I'm gonna, two of our friends were trying to help out, and they were directly communicating, and it backfired. And all of a sudden, there was about 40 follow up, like sort of butt kiss apologetic texts. I forgot to tell you about it. I'll tell you about it when we're off the air. It was
Oh,
great.
good. I can't wait to hear about this one.
I know it's something so simple, but it plays that tune where sometimes I guess people forget, where you are in space, or they forget, oh shoot, I'm not talking to my best friend here. I can't just be a jerk and get away with it. If I'm going to be like a jerk off to somebody,
Yeah.
I have to make amends. But at the same time, that also, I'm going to bring this up. We've got a few minutes, so fine, right? It's not even about conflict resolution. It's also about showing up. I am very good right now at being able, because I think of this project has enhanced this quality in me of reading people where they are and not allowing their stuff to mess with me. I can hear like the little baby in them crying. Like that's what I do. Like we had an
Hmm.
incident recently where a buddy of ours was doing that, and this is a grown man, and I just was like, oh, that's the little baby in him crying. It's funny. I just let the little baby cry, and it didn't matter. And after a while, 3 days went by, and it was like all the air was out of the whole argument. Granted, the resolution still needs to be there, but all the emotional air was like, it was
Hmm.
awesome. But as you see that
Yeah.
visual of a little baby crying when somebody's, it's just hilarious. How can you get mad at somebody like you're like, oh, you little baby?
When you're there, and so even and I look at where Mike is talking about this, and here's another thing. The last couple of minutes of this today. So earlier this week, like I was having a bad week, and it was already setting up for me. No matter how good I am at affirmations and gratitudes and all the other stuff, a lot of emotional stuff coming up this week, and I had to ring the bell. I had to ring the bell, and I'm coining that because Mike said that the other day, and I'm like, yeah, that's totally what I did. But I had to ring the bell, and I reached out and I said, all right, I'm having a rough go, guys. I'm having a rough go. I have this going on. This is going on. This is coming up. Fortunately, like it is all diffused at this point.
Oh, good.
Hallelujah, amen. It is all diffused, and like I'm exhausted, but it's all diffused and it's good. But I had to man up and say, hey, I'm a little bit sideways this week. So if you can take a couple of these things off my plate, I'm going to skip this thing here. And, I asked permission to that. So there's the other part. Like, there's where if you're in business with the right people. If you reach out and you're like, I need some help. So that's where I know Mike's shielding me from some things this week because he knows that's what's going on. And I, greatly appreciate that. But if you have somebody else in your world that knows you're having the problem and they bring their own crap to you anyway and just lay it on you heavy and hard, regardless if you've told them that, it might not be the right fit. Like, or you got to dial them back and say, hey, not okay, man. I told you not this week. So, you got to have those conversations. And that's how we get conflict management before we have to get to resolution.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Reminding people, hey, listen, I told you you did that. It was awesome. It was what a way to handle that. By the way, it's freaking great. Yeah, and it's not. I guess it's not about shielding. Sometimes you have to back up. I'm always backing up and zooming in, backing up and zooming in. Maybe to a fault, but I back up and zoom in a lot because I am there a lot throughout the day. Like you have to get into a headspace, and especially when we're doing something like this, you have to be in a headspace that is no other space. It's a fine line of being a little too inside with some stories, a little too outside with some stories, and a little bit. You're trying to communicate the point and be as vulnerable as possible. It works in showing up. It works in conflict resolution, and it's a tactic that I think if people deploy that with a little bit of a gas pedal, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out as you're meeting people and trying to influence. That little hack we just gave right there, I feel like it's $1 million. Jake, why don't you close us out, man? We are running right up on the time.
We're right up on the thing. So as usual, go to YouTube, like, subscribe, do all the things. We have our conference coming up. I think about this Friday, 9 to 5 Mountain Standard Time. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on LinkedIn. It'll be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Some amazing speakers. You're going to get some great nuggets out of it on Friday. Show up. Tell us you heard it here. It is your turn to disrupt. On behalf of Mike Liberti,